Okay, we're on Kilayim Perek Hey, Mishnah Hey. So this Mishnah is actually somewhat complicated. It's actually very complicated. There's some geometry involved, as we'll soon see. I'm going to explain it according to the way that Kahati explains it, and then I'm going to explain to you why others have a difficulty with it. It's a subject of tremendous debate. Just to give you an example, look at how long the Bartanura is. It's very, very long. But we're not learning, it's very, very, very long. We don't learn Mishnah Be'iyun, this is Mishnah Yomit. So I'm going to try to give you the Mishnah with the most clear, most concise explanation of the Mishnah. And if you want to discuss it or study it further, you're welcome to do so. Says the Mishnah. We learned, just as a preview, we've learned that we've discussed many times before, a number of times before, about Kramim. We went back to our original introduction. We learned that Lo tizra karmecha Kilayim. You may not plant your field Kilayim. Pen tikdash hamele'ah hazera asher tizra. Lest tikdash, from the word, it should be banned. It should be kodesh, but kodesh from the prohibited sense. Hamele'ah, the grain, hazera asher zara, the seed, utvuat hakerem. So if you plant Kilayim in a vineyard, then it all becomes pasul. And remember, if you remember before, we've learned before that if you plant on the outside of a field, then we learned that the outside 2 rows of the field became pasul. Now we're going to discuss a case. We're going to go all the way back down. Here we go. What happens? Oh, hold on a second. I got to add more space at the bottom. What happens? Let's pause for a second. Here we go. What happens if you plant it in the middle of your vineyard? These are all for our purposes. I copied this directly from Kahati. These are vines planted a distance apart, 4 amud apart, as we'll soon see. And then what happens if you plant here, you plant an ear of corn, or a few stalks of grain, or what have you. Says the Mishnah, Hanotea yarak bakerem o mekayem. If you either plant vegetables in your vineyard, or mekayem. Mekayem means you allow it to and you leave it there. You see it growing and you leave it there. Hareze mekadesh arba'im v'chamesh kfanim. That is mekadesh, i.e. sanctifies, i.e. makes prohibited. Asur bahna, you have to burn them. 45 kfanim, 45 vines. Ematai, when is this true? Bizman shayu netuot al arba o al chamesh. They're either planted 4 amud apart, 4 by 4, or 5 by 5. But ayunit tuot al sheish, if they're planted either 6 amud apart, or sheva, or 7 by 7, hareze mekadesh sheish se'ama lechol ruach. It prohibits, it makes asur 16 amot in every direction. Agulot velo merubaot, round and not square. Let's understand what we're talking about, and then I'll explain to you the problem of the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. So this is, let's look at our diagram. When you plant here, let's say I plant here my stalks of grain, there's a 16 amma radius. 16 amma, anything within a 16 amma radius from that is kadosh, is mukdash. So therefore, says the Mishnah, so what would be the case? When they're 4 by 4 or 5 by 5, the Mishnah says, how do you get 45? So let's just do a simple count. If they're 4 amud apart, so then you count 1, 2, 3, 4. These are on the outside. So this is the radius we can understand. You can trust the Kahati. So let's do a quick count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 35. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. And the Kahati notes, it doesn't include those gefanim that are on the exact outside. Those are not included. Those are outside, for whatever reason, whatever exactly on the line, the Mishnah does not consider it to be included. How then, though, do you get 45? This is the problem. This is the huge problem. Because the Mishnah says 45, arba'im v'chamesh gefanim, whether it's arba or chamesh chamesh. I got to highlight this better. Chamesh chamesh. How in the world do you get 45 and chamesh chamesh? Because if you look at 40 chamesh chamesh, so if you look exactly, let's just count it. It's very easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25 plus 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. And then if you include the ones that are on the outside, 32, 33, 34, 35, you get 37 somehow. Count 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. I'm sorry. So you have 37. You only get 37 on the inside. And if you do the math, if you want to use the Pythagorean theorem, what's the distance between this and these? These are not on the line. These are outside of the line. Why? Because if you just do the simple math, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I learned that in high school. Okay, so that's 15. 15 squared is 15 squared is 225, I think. Sounds right? 196, 220, no, 144. Now I got to stop. It's better just to do it. 15 squared equals 225 plus, if I'm trying to find the distance here, plus 1, 2, that's 10 amot, plus 100 equals 325, and I just take the square root of that. It's 18. That's 18 amot. So these, 18? That sounds right. Okay. Oops. What happened? Interesting. Oh, okay. So these are on the outside, so therefore you only get 37. So the question becomes, how do you get 45? So I'll give you the Kahati's explanation, and then I'll explain to you where it gets much, much more complicated. The Kahati says, even though you only have 37 here, nonetheless, when it's 4, a person doesn't see the difference between 4 or 5. The eye doesn't see. The Tosfot Yom Tov says that the eye can't distinguish between 4 amot apart or 5 amot apart. So therefore, if they see when a person he finds or he leaves Kilayim in the middle, he only burns 37 of his vines. So he'll say, oh, in the case of 4x4, I also can only burn 37. I don't have to burn 45. So therefore, the Chachamim said, lo plug, when it's 4 or 5, therefore you have to burn 45. That's the Tosfot Yom Tov's din, and that's how he explains in our Mishnah why it says either arba or chamesh, you have 45 kfanim. The only problem, of course, is nowhere is that mentioned in the Gemara or in the Yerushalmi. So it's not that made up that chumrah. Others say, the Bartanura explains, and some say in the name of the Rambam, I'll just tell you, that in the case of 5 by 5, they bring it out to 20 amot. And somehow when you get out to 20 amot, you include, not including these outside ones, so you're including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're including 8 more, 37 plus 45. You extend the radius to 20 amot. The only real question is, why when it's 5 by 5 do you extend it to 20 amot? And when it's 4 by 4, you only extend it to 16 amot. Again, as I said, that's a discussion, that's a subject for much, much deeper interpretation. But the Mishnah says, again, if there was 6 by 6 or 7 by 7, you can do the math yourself, separate it 6 by 6, how many stalks are included. Then it's only 16 amot, the chol ruach, agulot v'lu merubaot, in round and not in, it's a round radius and not square. Okay, it's somewhat complicated. I hope I was able to explain it to you in a way that's understandable. If you have any comments or questions, as always, email me at rspolter@gmail.com, and we'll dedicate this learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.